thank you so much for joining me as I craft for the crafter, and that is you. Today I will be working on this Toilet Paper Friends card number 2. Trying to cope, of course, as we are still trying to survive this COVID-19. This is the color palette I will be using. These are the card stocks that I plan to use. And here's a little image we will be coloring today, and I will be using watercolor pencils for this image. And I just get my acrylic block, spray a little bit of water to help me get the color moving of the colored pencils. And I love using colored pencils. It just gives it a smooth, soft look. You could make it more intense, of course. So I just grab my dry brush, dip it in a little bit of water, and then go onto my project and move that color pencil around. There are different ways of working with watercolor pencils, and as I showed in my last video, the first is you can go ahead and you can scribble onto your project the color and then go in with the brush and move the color around. And the other one, as I'm showing here, you wet the brush and then you go onto the tip of the pencil where the color is at, and you just grab the color directly from the pencil and put it onto your project. This way you can control the color as dark, as light as you would like it. I want that trunk of the flower to be a little darker, so I go in with a brown, like a reddish brown, and I just bring in some of that darker color to the trunk there of the flower. And next I want one of these flowers to be orange, so I took an orange and I colored that one. A different way you can also use watercolor pencils is by dipping the pencil directly to the water and then onto your project. I feel this also intensifies the color. Just to finish these two little flowers off, I decided to use this little pink and go ahead and color this one out. And for this little side flower here, I just decided to color it in with a little bit of blue right in the center. For the actual toilet paper roll, as in my previous card, I went with a gray watercolor pencil and just scribbled the edges and going with my brush and coloring or smoothing these out. Next, I will be die cutting this little banner, this little border, so I can outline my toilet paper roll. And I just go around with my X-Acto knife and cut around to then go ahead and paste it. And I could do this with this die only because the border is quite wide. After I stick it on, just go with my scissors and carefully under the die cut the excess out. And now I bring in my base. I just fold the crease there, and I'm trying to play around with the colors, how I want it to look. And something that I would like to share with you guys, and this of course is just a tip or a trick I have for you. I have cut out a piece of acetate to the same size as the card base. In this case, it's 6.5 by 5 inches. And this helps me visualize where my focal image is going to be placed. And it helps me envision the design that will be surrounding it before I cut the pieces. And next, as I do with most of my cards, I place the card stock I will be using as my first base onto the base, and I go around it with my cutting knife or my cutter, and it helps create a more perfect piece for the card base. And also having the piece cut out, it allows me to use it to cut out a different element that I could use for this card or another if I wish. And this also takes away, of course, some weight off of the card. Next, I will be die cutting out the sentiment with this die. And I decided to also cut out a second piece using this same die, but with the cardstock, the one that I cut for my first base. Then using my scissors, I just go around the oval where the sentiment is printed, and I place this cutout on the center on top of the first die piece. And not popping it up, I just go ahead and I add some glue to stick this on top of it. Next, I decided to add a white layer to the base of the card. I felt it needed some color balance because of the white tag where the toilet paper friend is printed on. And as a third layer for my base, I decided to die cut this vintagey flower paper I found. Here I am cutting it. So this will be the third layer, as I said, and I will be distressing the edges just to go with the vintagey look of the cardstock. And again, I will be gluing this on to the card base. Using some foam adhesive, I decided to pop up the tag a bit. So I just go ahead and I put it as much as I can, since this will be mailed. And the thickness of this foam tape is not so thick that it will give me a problem when mailing it. They usually don't charge more for it. I just place it in my mailbox actually, and that's where they take it from. And for my sentiment, I do want this a little more popped up. And I'm going to be using this spongy double-sided square that I found at the 99-cent store. And it really does lay flat once you place it in an envelope or you press on it. It does lay flat, so that will not be a problem. So I do notice here that this little point on the sides sticks out a little too much. So I just grab my good old scissors here and I cut this little point out. And what I do to one side, I do to the other, just to make it uniform, and nobody will notice that this die didn't have that little point. And then I go ahead and I stick it down. And feel free to modify your dies to fit your needs and to get the most out of them, really. So this completes our card for today. I hope you get inspired and I hope you create. Thank you so much for watching. I will be creating another Toilet Paper Friends card in the future. Please show your love and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much. See you next time. Cut. Darn it. Cut it. How can I fix it? I will fix it. Of course, we can fix it. We are crafters. We can fix it. Just to,